Welcome, I'm Dawn Spiegelberg, a heart coherence coach, and this is the Live by Heart Today show. This is a show designed to help you navigate change, uncertainty, and the new world we found ourselves in. Let's do a quick recap of the week. Part one was about understanding, and understanding is being more educational, head-focused. Part two was about knowledge being experiential. Part three was how the loud voice in our head, how loud it gets, and it's a voice, and why it happens. And today is part four, transforming reality. And I have to say, what I'm going to share with you in this video was a surprise to me. I didn't expect it. I wasn't looking for it. I didn't anticipate it. So during the scratch here days of my mind being constantly pulled to think about my skin, and my thoughts in my head were constantly, get rid of the ivy. This ivy has got to go. No more ivy on this property. And you understand why, because my skin was just so itchy, and I'd get a few bumps, and then I'd get a few more, and get a few more. It seemed endless. I was determined to find all of the ivy clumps, all of the stray leaves, all of the vines in the trees, all of it. Just pull it out. I really didn't think about very much else. If it wasn't grabbing my attention because of the crazy itchiness I was experiencing, it was getting my attention because I was like Sherlock Holmes outside with a little magnifying glass, looking for it everywhere. And guess what? The more I looked, the more I found. I've mentioned this before. My husband had mentioned at one point years ago that he really liked the look of a Solera car. And I didn't even know what a Solera was. But once he told me that and I started looking for Soleras, I saw them everywhere. Well, this happened to me. Once I knew what poison ivy was, and once I began seeing, I found it everywhere. And my thought was, get rid of it all. And I thought I could get rid of it all. But really, what happened was I was just finding more of it, more and more. And it became defeatist because there was a point at which I felt overwhelmed and that I wasn't going to be able to pull it all out. There was so much, and everywhere I turned, I was finding it. I thought I had beautiful lilac bushes, and then I took a closer look, and it was just covered in ivy. I couldn't believe it. It was in every flower bed I had. It was all over the house. It was in the trees. I mean, just everywhere. And I've barely gone into the woods. I don't even know if I want to look in our woods. We've got woods along the river. It was growing in patches in my front yard. And I've started pulling them, and there's still vines of ivy in my front yard that I haven't been able to get rid of all of it yet. Anyway, I was convinced I could get rid of it all. And I was going to get rid of it all in the matter of a couple days. But as the days passed, and as I kept pulling, and as it kept touching my skin and causing more rashes, I was really getting down. You can imagine how defeated I felt. It wasn't for lack of trying, but I was spending more and more time outside, really focused on trying to get rid of the ivy, and I was falling behind on my other responsibilities. The dishes were piling up in the sink. Clean clothes needed to be folded. I had been growing daisies from seed. My daisies had dried out. I lost 12 daisy plants that I had. They were starts. I realized I was addicted, and it was ugly. When that light bulb of realization turned on, I came to terms with the fact that the poison ivy wasn't going away, but it would continue to be here, and it would continue growing. it was not easy, but I accepted that truth. I came to terms about my obsession over something as insignificant as a plant, a poison ivy plant that was controlling me, not me controlling me, not me making choices for myself. I accepted that truth. I saw the truth that ivy doesn't have to, or I found out that ivy doesn't affect other creatures in the same way that it affects humans. Other animals live in harmony with ivy. My chickens happily walk through it without thinking twice. My dog doesn't get poison ivy. I realized poison ivy isn't bad. It just is. It just is, just like any other plant. I accepted that truth. So when I went into a state of acceptance, when I began accepting that I wouldn't be able to get rid of all of it, but I could get rid of a good chunk of it. When I began accepting these other things, that it was controlling me and I wasn't controlling it, 3 times over of acceptance. The rash, okay, this is the miracle. The rash on my arms and my legs stopped itching. I'm serious. I transformed my reality. And while I still had the rash, and I was getting more rash because I was still pulling ivy, it stopped itching. It stopped waking me up at night. I stopped taping it. It stopped spreading like it was. Let me tell you, this was incredible. All I had to do was accept the things that was going on, accept that the ivy would continue, and that all I needed to do was keep a pair of gloves with me so that when I saw the ivy, I could pull that ivy, but I didn't have to go on a warpath to try to get rid of all the ivy. I could just work on it along with my other chores. So it's incredible. I'm not itching from ivy. I see it and I just deal with it. I don't get overwhelmed or defeated by it. It's amazing. If you would like help accepting some truth in your life, try practicing heart coherence. If you'd like to know more about how to do that, just give me a shout in the comments or send me a private message. I'd love to hear from you. That's it for today. Thank you so much for opening your heart with me. It would mean a lot to me if you'd go ahead and click like on that video. And if you found it beneficial, if you found this content of benefit to you, please share it with someone who you think may also find it beneficial to learn how to live by heart. If you turn on notifications, you won't miss any of these little 5-minute minisodes that happen every Monday through Friday at 4:44 Pacific time. Transform your reality when you live by heart today.
And that concludes this portion of Live by Heart Today. And thank you to our sponsors for making the show possible. Hooray! Thank you for joining us. Have a happy always. View more episodes on our website.
We'll talk a little bit about science, a little bit about how our body works, a little bit about intuition, and we'll talk a lot about transformation.